After my daughter-in-law's shocking words, an incredible surprise at the airport changed everything forever. The airport buzzed with life, like a beehive on a warm autumn afternoon. Beth stood there, her heart racing as she eyes fell upon Sarah. There was no mistaking the anger and hurt etched across her face. How had it come to this? After years of silence and resentment, the air crackled with anticipation of an impending storm. "How could you?" Sarah shouted, her voice slicing through the hum of travelers. "You never let anyone in, not even your son." The words pierced deep, a sharp arrow that struck at Beth's heart. It felt as if the world around them faded, the chaos melting away, until it was just the two of them in that stark terminal, surrounded by families reuniting, laughter echoing in the distance. Beth felt a tightness in her chest, mixing pride and pain as memories flooded back. Sleepless nights spent flipping pancakes, overcooked spaghetti, and late shifts at the diner that had become her life's work. The weight of her relentless pursuit of the American dream hung heavy. Had it all built a wall instead of a bridge to her family? "I did everything for him," shot back, her voice trembling. "You don't understand." She felt the sting of tears, but blinked them away, unwilling to show Sarah the cracks in her facade. There was regret and sadness for the years lost, but how could she convey that amidst the tumult? Just when the despair threatened to swallow them whole, something unexpected happened. A cheerful group burst through the airport doors, each face familiar and filled with warmth. It was her staff from Beth's home plate, every last one of them. They held balloons and banners proclaiming, "We love you, Beth." They had come to honor her, to lift her spirit, amidst a personal storm. A ripple of confusion spread across Sarah's face, her anger momentarily replaced by surprise. The din of joyous hugs and laughter filled the air, weaving a blanket of comfort around the two women. Beth felt a warmth spread inside her, an unexpected reprieve from the emotional turmoil. They truly loved her. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can, drop a like. It really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Amidst balloons and laughter, Beth and Sarah faced each other, both holding on to words unspoken and hearts full of past grievances. The tension that had hung like a dark cloud began to lift, replaced by the soft glow of hope. Here, in this moment, they could mend things. Yet, doubt lingered. Could openness replace resentment? Could the journey forward allow them to reclaim what had soured? As the crowd around them cheered, laughter ringing in the air, Beth realized how little it took for love to rekindle. Standing hand in hand with Sarah, they could decide to embrace understanding or let old wounds fester. The clock ticked on, and with it, the weight of their choices pressed upon them. Would they take the leap towards healing, or would the rift deepen, leaving scars that might never heal? Hope and uncertainty fused into a single question hanging in the afternoon air. Suddenly, the joyful atmosphere was like a cold splash of water against the simmering tension between Beth and Sarah. As the balloons floated around them, Beth caught Sarah's gaze, her daughter-in-law's expression shifting between disbelief and curiosity. Maybe, just maybe, this unexpected display of love would soften her heart. "Beth," called one of her staff, a beaming young woman named Mia, "we just wanted to remind you how special you are to us." The heartfelt sentiment echoed throughout the throng of cheerful well-wishers. Sarah's lips twitched, caught between a smile and a frown. It was a crack in her armor, just enough to see past the anger. "This is unexpected," she admitted quietly, crossing her arms. The ambivalence was clear. She was torn between the temptation to scoff at the display and the flicker of warmth gnawing at her resolve. Beth took a breath, buoyed by the outpouring of support around her. "I didn't want to keep anyone out, you know? Life just got in the way." Her voice grew steadier, words falling as the truth bled out. "I thought I was doing the right thing by working hard for our family, but I see now I might have missed the mark." Sarah shifted her weight from one foot to another,
and an undeniable softness seeped into her posture. It was a subtle shift, but it was hope wrapped in humility. "We've all been living in our own bubbles," she murmured, her gaze drifting to the ground. "I just wanted you to care enough to notice me, to be part of your life." The weight of those words hung like low-hanging clouds, ready to burst. A longing flashed in Beth's heart, one that reached back years. "Believe me, I care. I've let work blind me. I'm so sorry, Sarah." Murmurs came from the crowd, a collection of her staff exchanging nods, supportive smiles lighting up their faces like lanterns. This was more than just about Beth and Sarah. It was about a community stitching itself together, reinforcing bonds that had frayed. But then, as the warmth enveloped them, Beth felt the familiar itch of fear creeping in. Could they make it through this moment without falling back into old patterns of hurt? "Maybe we should really talk later, just the two of us?" Sarah suggested, her voice still slightly shaky. "Yeah, I'd like that," Beth replied, her heart racing, both terrified and hopeful.
There was still so much to unravel, so many unspoken truths that would take time to unpack. They were standing at a crossroads, where both paths were daunting and uncertain. As the jubilant company began to sing a happy tune, a deep breath escaped Beth's lips. She was grateful for her staff, for this moment, but even more for this chance with Sarah. There was a sense of possibility hanging in the air, but possibilities can be fragile things. The laughter of children echoed, drowning out their uncertainty for the moment. Beth glanced over at Sarah again. This was the turning point. They both felt it. But as they stood united, a sudden, muffled commotion erupted from the airport exit. A voice shouted from the throng of travelers, "Mom! Mom! Over here!" Beth turned, her heart dropping, and the joy she had clung to faded slightly. Her world spun once more. Who was calling? What news would come next? As eyes darted towards the source of the commotion, Beth's breath caught in her throat. In the face of this chaos, she wondered, could their newfound hope withstand the next unexpected revelation? The shout echoed through the crowd, cutting through the laughter like a knife. Beth's mind raced as she turned to face the chaos. The sight of a familiar figure sprinting toward her sent her heart plummeting. It couldn't be. "Mom!" The voice grew louder, and suddenly she found herself staring into the eyes of Luke, her son. He was home from college, hair tousled and cheeks flushed, but it was his expression that knocked the wind out of her. He was holding something in his hand, crumpled and nervously twisting it in his fingers. "Luke!" she gasped, a wave of emotions crashing over her. Joy, surprise, relief. After weeks of stress and concerns, his arrival felt like a life preserver tossed into turbulent waters. The crowd began to cheer, welcoming him with enthusiastic claps and squeals. But then Beth noticed the look on his face. It was serious, urgent even. Where excitement filled the air, a storm was brewing inside him. "What's wrong?" Beth asked, pushing through the people to reach him. The jubilant atmosphere started to dim as she searched Luke's face for answers. I wanted to surprise you, but..." The hesitation in his voice made Beth's heart race even faster. He glanced at Sarah, then back to her. "I got a call today, from my advisor." She could see the weight of his words sitting heavily on his shoulders. "Mom, I didn't get the summer internship." The joyful noise of the party faded into a dull roar. Instead of feeling the crushing disappointment that she had prepared for, something else emerged within her, a mix of empathy and understanding. "Luke, I'm so sorry," she whispered, reaching out to squeeze his arm. "I was counting on it. It was supposed to be my shot," he confessed, his voice trembling slightly. "But the committee said I wasn't what they were looking for." Beth could feel the heartbreak radiating from him. She understood that sting all too well, the feeling of being overlooked. Life sometimes kicked you when you were already down. But then she saw Sarah's expression too, a shifting of emotions, a flicker of vulnerability that mirrored her son's pain. "Wait, hold on." Sarah stepped closer to them. "What if you come work with me this summer, at the company?" The offer hung in the air, filled with possibility. Luke looked startled, blinking rapidly. "For real? Are you serious? I mean, it's not a big company like that internship." "It doesn't matter if it's big or small. It'll be experience, and frankly, it'll be good to have a helping hand. I could use the help," Sarah replied gently, her voice strong despite the uncertainty beneath. Beth watched as her son processed the words, his eyes darting between her and Sarah. Unexpected warmth bloomed within her. The air between them seemed to shift. "This could be good for us, for all of us," Beth said,
longing for the unity that had eluded them for so long. Luke's face broke into a hesitant smile, complicated but hopeful. Really? Wow, I'd love that. At that moment, Beth could see tiny threads of connection weaving between them. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a start, a spark of collaboration that might mend old wounds and build new ones. But tension still lingered. The noise from the party resumed around them, cheers and laughter filling the air once more. But Beth felt that familiar prick of anxiety in her chest. What if this newfound hope crumbled under the weight of their past? As Beth turned back to Sarah, questions flickered in her eyes. Can we really do this? The crowd's joy surrounded them, yet uncertainty simmered just beneath the surface, both thrilling and terrifying. Could they weather this storm together, or would shadows pull them apart again? As they stood there, the answers felt just out of reach, but the promise of something new glimmered ahead. Would they embrace this chance, or would old habits resurface to derail their fragile truce? Before she could voice her thoughts, a loud gasp came from the crowd as another unexpected figure emerged at the airport entrance. Who else could be stirring up more chaos? The pull for answers grew stronger, and Beth's heart raced for what was next. Beth's heart skipped as she turned toward the entrance, the crowd parting like a wave to reveal the unexpected figure stepping through the terminal doors. A rush of emotion surged within her, curiosity mixed with worry. Who could it be now? And then she saw it, the unmistakable silhouette of her estranged husband, Daniel. His presence sent shockwaves through her, and the noise of the airport faded into a muted stillness as he locked eyes with her. The years of unresolved feelings flooded back, each one as sharp as the moment their marriage fell apart.
He wore a hesitant smile, but Beth could see the uncertainty in his eyes. "Daniel?" she breathed, as if saying his name could summon clarity to the chaotic emotions spinning in her head. In an instant, all thoughts of the party and her son's internship fell away. "Surprise," he said softly, his voice barely carrying over the murmur of the crowd. He took a tentative step forward, each movement stirring the air with unspoken memories. Luke looked from his father to his mother, confusion flickering on his face. Beth saw the questions swirling in her son's eyes. What was his father doing here? Why now? Beth hesitated, her heart a battleground of anger, sorrow, and longing. "Why are you here?" she finally asked, the calmness in her voice belying the turmoil within. "I came to see you, both of you," Daniel said, his gaze flickering nervously to Luke. "I wanted to apologize for everything, for leaving, for not being there." Luke stiffened, processing the weight of Daniel's words. The last time they had seen him, anger and bitterness had clouded their parting. There were so many things left unsaid, so many cracks in their fractured family. Beth felt the air around them grow thick with unfulfilled expectations and old wounds. Sarah stepped back, sensing the rising tension. She looked uncertain, caught between supporting Beth and respecting the complexity of their situation. But as she stood there, Beth's mind raced. "Daniel, this isn't the time," Beth's voice trailed off. The noise around them had resumed, but it felt as if a bubble had encased them, isolating them from everything else. "No," Daniel pressed, taking another step closer. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but things have changed. I'm trying to figure things out. I miss you both so much." For a moment, Beth's heart softened. Memories of laughter and family dinners flickered through her mind, chasing away the heavier moments of pain. Was there a way to bridge this gap? Could they heal? Luke, watching the scene unfold, shifted uncomfortably. "You didn't even try to reach out for years," he said, his voice tight. "Now you show up just like that?" Beth felt the weight of her son's anger hanging in the air between them. It echoed her own frustrations. But she thought about Luke, about their future. Could they navigate this new dynamic? "Maybe," she started, her voice gaining strength. "Maybe we can talk. All of us. But it has to be real. No more pretending." As she spoke, she sensed a flicker of hope stirring within her. It was terrifying to think about, but perhaps this moment could be the turning point they all so desperately needed.
But before anyone could respond, a loud cheer erupted from the crowd as another figure stepped forward, this time carrying a bouquet of vibrant flowers. A friend from their past, or a new obstacle? Beth's heart raced, and she braced herself for whatever surprise awaited them next, wishing she could feel assured that they would all come out stronger.
But what if this unexpected turn sent them all spiraling back into chaos? And just as she found her footing, she realized that every choice made in this moment could redefine their family forever. What path would they choose? The noise of the airport seemed to swell around them as the figure with the bouquet stepped into view. Beth's eyes widened as she recognized Mia, a close friend from her and Daniel's past. Memories of laughter, long weekends, and family holidays wrapped around her like a warm blanket. But now, that blanket felt scratched by the cold reality of the reunion. Mia's face lit up with a smile that quickly faltered as she took in the tension between Daniel and Beth. "Hey, everyone," she chirped, then froze. The flowers, vibrant and cheerful, looked out of place. "Why are you here?" Beth asked, a slight edge creeping into her voice. Instead of feeling the comfort Mia usually brought, anxiety twisted in her gut. I just thought it'd be nice to surprise you, Beth. I heard you had some kind of event today." Mia's gaze flicked nervously between Beth and Daniel, but clearly I might have come at a bad time. The air thickened again, charged with unspoken words. Luke shifted awkwardly, crossing his arms. "Well, you definitely did," he mumbled, eyes narrowing at his father, then back to Mia. This was new territory for him, too. They were all treading on thin ice, each step forced and precarious. "Let's not pretend everything is perfect," Luke interjected, voice firm yet shaky. "This isn't a fairy tale." "Of course not," Daniel replied, his expression earnest. "But perhaps we can turn the page together? I know it sounds trite, but I mean it. I'll do whatever it takes." A cacophony of flight announcements interrupted him, shattering the moment. People rushed past, umbrellas opened against the late summer rain outside. Beth, caught in her spiraling emotions, felt a sudden rush of clarity. Standing there in the crowd, she thought of her son, of the family they once were and could be again. She held the power to steer their future, but it felt daunting. "I want to gather somewhere more private," she said, feeling a blend of courage and fear. "We owe it to ourselves to really talk. No more hiding." Daniel nodded, hope blooming in his eyes, while Luke remained guarded, still clinging to his doubts. As they began to move through the crowd, Beth's mind raced with possibilities and fears. If they met outside the chaos, could they address the real issues hiding beneath? But the shadows of their past loomed over them, and she couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a much larger confrontation. What would they uncover in their discussions? Would they all walk away intact? With every step, Beth felt the weight of uncertainty pressing down. Could a single conversation mend a broken family, or would it just expose deeper wounds? Only time would tell as they moved toward that next overwhelming moment of truth. Beth led the way, glancing back at the two most important people in her life. The din of the airport faded as they stepped into a quieter cafe, the smell of brewed coffee and pastries momentarily easing the tension. They found a corner table away from prying eyes, but close enough to see the windows streaming with raindrops. As they settled in, Beth sensed the electricity in the air. It crackled with urgency and unspoken fears. She took a deep breath and met Mia's gaze. "Thank you for being here, even if it wasn't the reunion you expected." Mia smiled softly, though her eyes reflected the weight of concern. "I just want to help you both. You've both been through so much." Luke sat across from them, his arms still crossed, his expression a mix of burden and curiosity.
What exactly do you think can be fixed here? He asked, his voice edged with skepticism. You can't just sprinkle some fairy dust and make it all okay. Maybe not, Daniel leaned forward, his gaze steady. But we can start by being honest with each other, all of us. His voice was clear, a stark contrast to the swirling emotions around them. Beth felt a tremor of excitement intermingled with dread. Was he really ready to open up? What do you mean? Luke crossed his legs, shifting his weight.
Beth noticed how his body was tense, like a coiled spring. I think there's a lot unsaid between us. Daniel's face hardened slightly, his brow furrowing. It's time to get the truth out, even if it hurts. Mia offered a supportive smile, urging them on. Remember that real healing comes from understanding. If we don't dig deep, won't we stay stuck in the past, perpetually unhappy? Beth's heart raced. She longed for connection, but fear gnawed at her. What truths lurked just beneath the surface? Would they shatter this fragile moment? I had no idea you two were in such a bad place, Mia said, breaking the silence. Before today, I thought... Thought what? Luke snapped, startling them all. That we were just waiting for a happy ending to fall in our laps? His anger caught Beth off guard. A wave of guilt crashed over her. Had she unknowingly painted a picture of perfection? No, he continued, calming somewhat. I just mean, sometimes I wish we could go back to when things were simple. Sometimes simple isn't an option, Daniel replied, his voice even, but edged with pain. We've all carried this weight for so long. It's time to share it. Beth nodded, each heartbeat echoing her resolve. I want us to be honest. I need to know what you both feel about everything, the good, the bad, because we need to face it together. She looked from Daniel to Luke, each face reflecting their cast sharply, and the struggles that came with it. The air felt thick with tension, but also possibility, like a storm ready to break. Okay then, let's start, Mia said softly, nudging the conversation forward. What's the one thing you both feel isn't said? Luke took a deep breath, and Beth braced herself for a revelation. Her heart thudded in her chest, her palms slightly damp on the table. I never wanted to hate my dad, Luke finally said, his voice cracking. It just happened. The wall seemed to vibrate with the truth of his words, and Beth felt the weight of sadness settle in her heart. If only it were as easy as wanting to fix everything. Daniel's expression softened, his eyes revealing a land of regret. I never wanted that for you either. Mia reached out, placing her hand on Luke's. This is the start, she whispered, the warmth of the moment flowing through her fingers. Just then the door swung open, and a gust of wind swept in, carrying the scent of rain-worn earth. Was change on the horizon? Would they finally clear the air, or would more truths come crashing down like the pouring rain outside? As Beth's heart raced, she realized the hardest conversations were still ahead, but maybe, just maybe, they could emerge stronger. Could this really be the moment they each needed? What other difficult topics and truths would surface from their tangled past? Beth felt the tension crackling in the air, like lightning ready to strike. Luke's admission hung there, palpable and heavy.
She could almost hear the whispers of unspoken truths swirling around them, begging to be released. Why did it happen? Luke looked down at the table, the storm in his eyes matching the weather outside. How did we let it get this far? Because life isn't fair, Daniel said softly, but his words were loaded with pain. Because we were scared. We've all made choices that hurt each other. Mia squeezed Luke's hand tighter, grounding both of them. It's not about placing blame. It's about understanding. Each of you has your reasons. Beth's heart ached. She wanted to jump in, to ease the tension that tightened like a noose around their throats. We can't fix everything in one conversation, but we can start here. Let's share. What hurt you the most? Luke lifted his gaze. There was a flicker of vulnerability, a glimpse into the inner turmoil that churned within him. I felt abandoned. You seemed to choose your paths, and I was left choking on the dust. Daniel flinched, crossing his arms tight against his chest. It wasn't choosing you or abandoning you. I just didn't know how to be the father you needed. Life got in the way. The loss, the grief. I never wanted my struggles to become yours. Tears pooled in Beth's eyes. They had all suffered. It was a brutal realization. But we can't pretend it didn't happen. It's like a scar we carry. We have to acknowledge it to heal. Silence fell over them, thick and suffocating. The hum of the cafe faded in the background, replaced by the sound of rain beating against the windows, echoing their somber emotional state. Mia turned to Beth, her voice barely above a whisper. "How do you feel, Beth?" Beth's chest tightened. I wish we could rewind. I wish things could be different. Her voice broke slightly as she continued, but I know wishing doesn't change anything. Daniel's eyes searched hers, reflecting a deep understanding. What if we forgave ourselves first? Could that pave the way to healing? Luke scoffed softly, a mix of anger and disbelief lingering in his tone. Forgiveness? It's not that easy. No, Beth said, but it's a start. She felt an unexpected surge of strength. We've hurt each other, yes, but we've also loved one another fiercely. We can't lose sight of that. The moment hung suspended, as they all absorbed her words. It was as if a ray of hope broke through the clouds, illuminating the gloom that had settled within their hearts. "I'm scared," Luke admitted finally, his voice cracking again, betraying the warrior facade he tried to maintain. "I'm afraid of opening this door, of facing what's behind it." "Me too." Daniel's admission was heavy with regret. "But what's the alternative? To live with this anger for the rest of our lives?" Mia gently cupped Luke's face in her hands. "You're not alone in this. None of us are. We can face whatever comes next together." A long, tense silence stretched, filled only with the sound of rain and the thudding of hearts.
It felt like they were standing on the edge of a cliff, ready to leap into the unknown. "What if it's too late?" Luke's voice trembled. "Maybe it's never too late," Beth responded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears, "but only if we're willing to fight for it." Across the cafe, someone laughed, sending a ripple of warmth through the air. It was a reminder that life continued to pulse around them, even as they wrestled with their own struggles. But as they breathed in this moment of vulnerability, uncertainty loomed. Would they truly find the courage to push through? Just then, the door burst open again, this time with an unexpected figure standing drenched just outside. A silhouette against the pouring rain, like an apparition they hadn't seen coming. Beth's stomach twisted. Who was this new arrival, and how would they impact the fragile walls they had started to rebuild? Would this stranger be a new thread woven into their story, or would their entrance tear open old wounds? The door swung wide, and the harsh wind from outside whipped through the cafe, sending a shiver through Beth. The newcomer, a woman in her 30s with jet black hair plastered to her forehead, stepped through the threshold. She looked disheveled, like a ghost from the past that had just walked off the stormy streets. "Is this seat taken?" she asked, her voice barely rising above the rain's drum. There was a sense of urgency in her eyes, and despite the chaos surrounding her arrival, there was something strikingly familiar about her. Beth felt her pulse quickened. It was in the way the woman carried herself, strong but shaken. No, please sit," Beth managed, her heart pounding. Luke's wide eyes met hers, equivalent parts confusion and recognition. Daniel had gone still, a look of guarded curiosity on his face. As the woman slid into the empty seat, a thread of tension pulled taut. "I'm sorry for barging in like this," she said, brushing a damp strand behind her ear. "My name is Tara. I need to talk to you all." Luke's brow furrowed. "Do we know you?" Her gaze flicked to him, searching. I'm your sister, Luke. I know you might not remember me. I was taken away when you were very young." The revelation hung thick in the air, pressing against each of them like a weight. The cafe grew hushed, and for a moment it felt suspended in time. Luke's expression faltered, mixed with disbelief and an uncomfortable twinge of hope. "Sister?" he whispered, as if saying it louder would shatter the delicate moment. Mom never stopped looking for you," Tara continued, her voice trembling. "And I've been searching too. I just found out where you were, and I had to come. I needed to see you." Daniel paled, the colors draining from his face. Beth felt her breath hitched, caught in the shock of it.
Mia looked around, her eyes wide. Was this the storm that had come to alter them forever? "I'm sorry," Tara rushed, her eyes brimming with sincerity.
"I know this must be overwhelming, but please, I can explain everything. I can tell you why we were separated. I can finally bring closure to our family." Luke's knuckles whitened as he gripped the edge of the table. "You've been gone for how long?" 26 years, she responded softly, her voice breaking. "It's taken this long just to know where to find you." Beth felt as if the room were spinning. The other conversations they had been having faded into the background, eclipsed by this new reality. Each beating heartbeat echoed her own uncertainty and confusion. How could a sister, someone who had been lost in their history, suddenly just reappear like this? "What's your story?" Daniel's voice was steady amidst the chaos. "What happened to you?" Tara inhaled deeply, steadying herself. "It's a long tale and not an easy one, but I promise you it's worth hearing." As she began to speak, a rush of emotions swirled in Beth's heart. Would this be the unveiling of their family's dark past, or a rekindling of love that had long been extinguished? Each word was a thread weaving their lives together again, but it also threatened to unravel everything they had just begun to face. And just as Tara delved deep into her story, the cafe erupted in cheers and applause. A celebration had begun for someone's birthday, clashing against the weight of Tara's revelations. The dissonance brought a sense of stark contrast as joy and sorrow mingled in the air. Would they embrace this unexpected connection, or would it become another wound? As Beth looked around the cafe, soaking in the laughter, her heart raced with a question they would all soon face. What if Tara's arrival was the catalyst they never knew they needed, or the storm that would drown them in chaos once more? Tara took a deep breath, gathering herself amidst the noise and laughter that swirled around them. Beth could see the raw vulnerability in her eyes as she began to share a piece of her past that had been long buried and deeply painful. "It wasn't just a simple separation," Tara explained, her tone steadying as she found her voice. "There were reasons no child should ever have to face. I was taken from Mom when the chaos began. There was a fire, an accident, and then I was placed with another family. I didn't remember who we were at first, but pieces came back to me over the years. I could hear Mom's voice in my dreams, calling my name." Luke's expression shifted from confusion to an array of emotions: anger, sadness, and a flicker of hope. "But why didn't she come for you sooner?" he asked, his voice edged with disbelief. "No one knew where I was," Tara replied, a hint of desperation creeping into her tone. "Whatever happened, the family that took me didn't tell anyone. It took me years to untangle the truth. I had to learn to survive before I could start searching. And now," her voice broke, "I found you. I finally found you." Beth felt a tightening in her chest. She could sense the thickening tension in the air, the weight of their shared history looming over them. It was as if time had pulled back, revealing the disjointed puzzle pieces of their lives, now sitting together at this table. The applause around them faded into a distant hum, and she caught Luke's hand tightening around his glass, cracking the delicate surface. "You're saying you want to be part of our lives after all these years? Just like that?" Tara's gaze softened, the flicker of hope flicking in her eyes. "I want to understand. I want us to be a family again, or at least try. After all these years in darkness, I finally see the light. I can't just walk away." A weight rested on Beth's heart, a blend of hope and wariness. "But what if it all goes wrong?" she asked, voicing the question everyone else was thinking, but no one dared to speak aloud. "What if this doesn't work out? What if you're different now?" "I know I am," Tara said, her voice breaking. "But I know who I want to be moving forward. I want to be a sister to Luke. I want to know all of you, share the good moments. I want my family back." A silence fell among them, heavy with unspoken fears and unbridled hopes. Each face at the table wore a mask of their own thoughts, processing the seismic shift that had just altered their reality. Tara's presence stirred a mix of feelings, an ache for lost years, but a flicker of possibility too. Luke's expression softened, the corners of his mouth lifting ever so slightly. "I can't promise anything," he said, "but I want to try."
The words were tentative, but they were a bridge to something more. As Tara reached across the table, their fingers barely brushed. It felt electric yet fragile, like an unsteady connection just beginning to form. The noise of the cafe began to swell again, a reminder of the outside world. Beth glanced at the door, wondering what else lay in wait beyond the threshold they had just crossed. What does it mean to welcome someone back after so long? Can family ever truly be undone? And with that thought gnawing at her, she couldn't shake the feeling that Tara's return was just the beginning of an even greater storm, one that would test the bonds of their past and future. What other secrets are out there? Beth wondered, as a shadow of doubt crept in. Would they be able to forge a new beginning, or was this just another chapter filled with heartache waiting to unfold? The storm outside raged on, but within the cozy cafe, the chaos shifted into a hum of curiosity. Beth glanced from Tara's earnest eyes to Luke's guarded expression and Daniel's quiet contemplation. This was new territory for all of them, a fragile moment where hurt and hope danced like wildfires battling against the wind. "I can't believe this is happening," Luke murmured, the disbelief palpable in his voice. "Tara, you've been out there all this time?" Tara nodded solemnly, the weight of her past etched deep in her features.
Every day felt like an eternity, wondering if I would ever find you. When I learned about you both, I had to take the chance. Beth felt the tears brimming at the corners of her eyes. All this time I thought about what could have been. The whisper of yearning for a family unified under joy pierced through her heart. I fought so hard to keep all of us together, and yet here we are, fragmented by time and circumstance. "It's not too late," Tara replied softly. "We can still build something together, one step at a time, right?" The tears spilled over. Beth hurriedly brushed them away, feeling raw yet renewed. For years, she had fought against that lonely feeling of emptiness, of a family pulled apart. And now, it felt like the pieces were slowly beginning to fit. Luke's eyes met Tara's, a torrent of emotions flashing between them, a mix of anger, confusion, and a budding connection neither of them had thought possible. "So, what now?" he asked, cautiously hopeful. "We start with the truth, however messy it may seem," Tara declared, her resolve palpable. "Open dialogue, questions. You can ask me anything." Daniel cleared his throat. "We've all got a lot to heal from. It won't just be a clean slate, but it's a start." His voice, usually tense, felt more reassured as he faced the woman who had once belonged to their family. A swell of emotions pulsed through Beth, spilling into the space like the sweet aroma of coffee. "Tara, I want you to know, I've been lost too. I thought I was protecting our family by keeping busy, but all I did was push us, further away." With her heart on her sleeve, Beth sensed the collective weight of their past lifting just a little. "I hurt, I cried, I thought of the life you missed, of moments we could have shared." Tara nodded, her understanding palpable. "It certainly wasn't my choice either. All I've wanted is to piece together what we lost." An electric silence enveloped them as the rain poured outside, mirroring the emotions pouring over the table. Each of them felt a cavern of hurt beneath the surface, but saw glimmers of hope breaking through the clouds. Mia, sitting nearby, offered her support with a soft smile, the kind of smile that said they could forge ahead. "Rediscovery can be beautiful," she whispered. Slowly, a stirring emerged from Luke. "Can you work with us, Tara? I mean, truly be part of our lives." "I'll do whatever it takes for all of us," Tara said, her voice unwavering. "There are no easy answers, but I'm committed to relearning all that we missed out on. I want to connect deeper." Beth smiled softly, her heart swelling with love and relief. "I see strength in you, Tara. It's like, finally, I can breathe again." As they continued their heartfelt exchange, with layers of uncertainty dissolving into understanding and trust, hope ignited in the depths of Beth's soul. They could build this bridge again. They had already begun. And then, like a soft whisper,
A question escaped Beth's lips.
What if we make a pact to visit all the memories, the happy ones, the tough ones, to share stories until we laugh and cry together? Absolutely, Tara replied, her eyes brightening. Those memories should shape our future, not haunt our past. I'm into, Luke chimed in, the warmth breaking through. Let's create new ones. Daniel nodded too, his face softening with a smile. We owe it to ourselves to try for something better. In that moment, Beth suddenly felt lighter. The chaos outside began to fade into a distant memory, their spirits lifting together as they forged ahead. When you face a storm with your family, when you confront the past with courage, the clarity to move forward sharpens. As laughter began to rise, mixed with tears of relief, they saw a chance to embrace a new future, seize this moment of transformation. Each of them was ready to rediscover family, to rewrite their tale under the rain-filled sky. And as their laughter billowed like balloons dancing in the wind, Beth finally felt free. Now it was time for everyone to stand together, take a leap of faith, and emerge stronger than ever. Don't wait one more second. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories, because you need to be part of this journey. Leave a like now to breathe life into this message and show your support. Comment below to share your reaction to this powerful transformation. And share this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel the magic of family rebuilding.